Two Christian armies stood ready to slaughter each other. Thousands of soldiers gripped their swords, waiting for the signal to attack. Then an old monk walked directly between them, carrying nothing but a wooden cross. What happened next became one of the most astonishing moments in Christian history. The 6th century was a turbulent time across Europe. Kingdoms rose and fell with frightening speed, alliances changed overnight, and civil wars often proved more devastating than invasions from foreign enemies. Entire villages disappeared because Christian rulers chose to fight one another instead of protecting their own people. In one such kingdom, years of political tension finally reached the breaking point. Two powerful noble families claimed the right to rule. Negotiations had failed. Messengers returned empty-handed. Every attempt at peace had collapsed beneath pride and ambition. Soon, thousands of soldiers gathered on opposite sides of a vast open valley. Farmers abandoned their homes. Women and children sought refuge inside churches. Everyone knew that by sunset, the fields would be covered with the dead. Several miles away stood an isolated monastery where an elderly monk named Brother Elias spent his days copying scripture and praying for the people. For decades, he had avoided politics. He cared little about kings. He cared deeply about souls. When frightened refugees arrived asking the monks to pray, Brother Elias listened quietly. After hearing their stories, he entered the monastery chapel. He remained there for hours. No one knew what he prayed. When evening came, he stood, picked up a simple wooden cross that had hung beside the altar for many years, and prepared to leave. The younger monks were horrified. "You cannot stop an army. They will kill you before you even reach them. This war is no longer in anyone's control." Brother Elias smiled gently. "If no one is willing to stand between hatred, then hatred has already won." Before sunrise, he began walking toward the battlefield. The cold morning mist still covered the valley. On one hill stood thousands of armored soldiers carrying banners of the Northern Lord. Across the valley waited an equally massive army loyal to the Southern Prince. Both commanders had already ordered their archers into position. The signal to attack could come at any moment. Then, someone noticed a lone figure walking slowly across the empty field. At first the soldiers laughed. Who would be foolish enough to walk between two armies? As the figure came closer, they recognized an old monk. His robe moved gently in the wind. One hand held a worn wooden cross. The other carried nothing at all. No armor, no weapon, no fear. He stopped exactly halfway between the two armies. Without saying a word, he knelt. The entire battlefield watched in silence. Brother Elias closed his eyes and began praying aloud. His voice was calm. He prayed first for the soldiers, then for their families, then for both commanders. Finally, he prayed that God would forgive everyone standing in that valley before they committed a terrible sin against their own brothers. Something unexpected happened. The valley became completely silent. No battle horn sounded. No arrows were released. Even the horses seemed strangely calm. One young soldier quietly lowered his sword. Another removed his helmet. Soon whispers spread through both armies. He's praying for us. He's praying for both sides. The northern commander watched from horseback. He had expected courage from warriors. He had never expected it from an old monk. The southern prince stared at the man kneeling in the middle of the battlefield. He realized something that had never crossed his mind before. The monk had more courage than either army. Because while thousands stood protected by shields, one old man trusted only God. Minutes passed. No one moved. Finally, the northern commander ordered his standard lowered. Across the valley, the southern prince responded by lowering his own banner. Slowly, soldiers began putting away their swords. Many fell to their knees beside the monk. Others embraced men they had expected to kill only moments before. The battle never happened. Instead of war, the commanders agreed to meet under a temporary truce. Negotiations that had failed for months suddenly became possible. Because one man had reminded them of something they had forgotten. They were Christians before they were enemies. Brother Elias quietly returned to his monastery without asking for recognition. When others praised his courage, he answered with remarkable humility, "I did not stop the war. Christ did." Years later, chroniclers recorded the extraordinary event, describing how one monk armed only with faith prevented a civil war that would have claimed thousands of lives. His name gradually faded from history. The kings who nearly destroyed their own people are remembered by only a few historians. But the lesson remains. True courage is not always found behind a sword. Sometimes, it walks alone into the place where everyone else expects violence, and reminds the world that peace requires far greater bravery than war ever will.